There's two heads in there.
Hello everyone, welcome to Happily Ever Reality. Today we're talking about Sister Wives, Season 19, Episode 20, which is titled, Everything There Is a Season. The first thing I want to talk about is the papier-mâché head that was at Plot's plot, and I know you all saw it. You saw the hair and thought, man, that looks like Kody Brown. But look at their faces right next to each other. It's uncanny. I would absolutely love it if later on we found out that Meri had already went there, and before she went, she made this papier-mâché head. That would be fantastic. So if Meri ever wants to admit to it, I would love it. She was the crafty wife. Or if you prefer a scary story, you could say that Meri made this years and years ago, and she kept it in her house for all the nights that Kody wasn't there, but she wanted to feel like she had a husband. And then when she was finally ready to move on, she took it and dropped it off there. Of course, you guys, I'm joking, and let's get real. If anyone was going to make this head, it would be Kody Brown, because we know how much he loves himself, and he would probably make it so that he could still see his face when he can't get a picture of himself or in front of a mirror. Okay, enough about that papier-mâché head. I will move on. Let's talk about the show itself. I want to get Meri out of the way, mostly because she didn't have a lot going on in this episode. We see her host a retirement party at the B&B for a woman named Madeline. Madeline has been cooking at the B&B. Meri says she's a wonderful cook. They have great reviews because of her cooking. But now Madeline is done. And after the party, Meri and Jen talk about that. You know, now Meri's mother has passed. Now Madeline will not be cooking there. And it's sort of falling onto Meri. If the B&B is going to function, she's going to have to be the one running it. And she says that was never her dream. She wanted to keep this house in her family, but she didn't want to run a B&B. And that's not the only stuff that's changing for Meri. It's not just the B&B. It's the fact that she's starting to date. She says she's met a few people, went on some dates. She said she blocked a few numbers. So she's meeting new people. She says she doesn't even know if she's going to stay in Pair 1 because she doesn't know what the future looks like for her. She's just at a place where her life can go in any direction. You know, she's not committed to anyone, not committed to a certain location, not even really committed to a job or anything. I mean, I know she sells LuLaRoe, but she could take that anywhere. Meri's really got a lot of possibilities, and she seems so much happier than she was before. If you go back and watch older episodes, she's a different person. And I've enjoyed watching it. I know some of you don't, but I have enjoyed it. But that's really all there was in this episode for her. Now let's move on to talking about the true star of this episode, and that is Janelle. She is ready to make the move to North Carolina. David, Christine, and Truly are going to be going with her. They help her load up the U-Haul, and they're going with her all the way across the country over to North Carolina. Janelle is going to be leaving Gabe, Garrison, and Savannah in Flagstaff. Janelle says she does love it there, but she's ready to go and start a new chapter in her life. And I think we're all excited for her. It's weird. I think there's so many things about this show that people will disagree on, but Janelle doing this and making this move and going out there and having a flower farm just sounds fantastic. And I feel like it's something we all agree on. We all want her to go and just live the life that she has wanted. So she's finally doing it. David and Truly ride in the U-Haul. Christine and Janelle take the truck. And they're going to be making this long drive. And they decide they want to stop off at some really unique places and not like the same old restaurants and gas stations that they see all the time. And they find out about this place called Plot's Plot. And I'm going to put a clip in of Christine explaining it.
You open it and you could look inside at these things that other people left to show their transition. And then whatever you have, you tag it and you leave it there as well.
So the whole idea of this is that you leave something behind. Like you're moving on with your life and you take something there, and it's symbolic that you leave this item in this place. Christine decides that she wants to take a dream catcher, and Janelle doesn't tell us immediately, but she has something she's going to be leaving behind as well. Now they're making this drive and we get to hear Christine and Janelle talk. Christine brings up the fact that sometimes she has nightmares where she's still married to Kody. It's not actually funny, but it is kind of funny because that would be a nightmare, right? Janelle says that she doesn't think about Kody at all. She doesn't have nightmares. Like, he doesn't cross her mind. But she thinks that's because the relationship was over way before they made it officially over. Like, she was done long before they actually said it wasn't working. So she thinks that is a part of it. This leads to them talking about the birthday dinner that we saw 1 or 2 seasons ago. Now, I did not go back and rewatch that episode before I made this video. So I'm going to tell you my recollection of that, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. But during that episode, when they went to dinner, wasn't Kody very flirtatious? But Janelle really wasn't having it. Like, she wanted to go out to dinner with him, but she was not trying to rekindle anything. And she says that when she's talking to Christine. She says that she sort of used him because she didn't have any plans and she didn't want to be alone. So when he called, she was like, yeah, I'll go to dinner with you. But she really wasn't interested in anything romantic. So she agrees with my recollection. Like, it's all aligning. But then Kody in this episode says something different. I'm going to put the clip in here.
Nothing was on my mind, but we're in the friend zone. This is just me trying to have a nice time without any expectations.
So is Kody trying to rewrite history, or did I really misremember the whole episode? Or at least that part of that episode. You guys can let me know in the comments. I'm not offended. It is very possible I'm not recalling that correctly. But it's also just as likely that Kody's lying. So I have no idea. So let's refocus a little bit on Plot's plot, which is basically an orange shipping container that has some sort of lock on it. You walk inside of it, you leave something, you leave a note, you explain why you're leaving that stuff there. It's this symbolic act. Christine is leaving the dream catcher. She bought it in Flagstaff. She's moving on to a new place and new dreams. And then we find out that Janelle is leaving behind the tree necklace that Kody had designed for her back when Robyn had My Sister Wife's Closet. So I have to admit, I laughed when I found out she was leaving the necklace. I really thought something funny was going to happen, or she was going to say something funny about it. But she kept it classy because she's a nice lady. She didn't say anything petty like I would have. She left the necklace there. She left a note. I did zoom in on the note. It looks like it says, leaving behind this tree necklace designed by my partner. We are no longer together. I am moving on and will design my own tree. And then something else. I mean, maybe it says my own tree necklace. I don't know. My own tree. And then she signed it Janelle. You can see the necklace there. So clearly I think Janelle handled this really well and she didn't say anything mean. You know, this was a symbolic act for her. She wasn't like, that necklace is ugly, I'm getting rid of it. But I gotta know, what do you think Kody is going to say when he sees this? I wonder if it's going to be brought up at the tell-all at the end of the season. I wonder if we're going to hear from him and Robyn about this. But anyway, let's get back to Janelle and Christine. They leave their items behind with notes and then they hit the road again. When they're in the truck, they start talking about what it was like to travel as a family, and Christine brings up the fact that when they would get to a hotel, they never knew where Kody was going to stay. And Christine would want Kody to stay with her. She acknowledges that when she was with him, she was really needy, but she understands now that she was needy because her needs weren't being met. Now, Janelle feels differently. She says she didn't care where he stayed because she thought he was very disruptive and she just wanted to have her own space. And you know, this really aligns with who they are. I'm not surprised to hear either one of them say that. But after we hear them talking, we get confessionals from Meri and Robyn. And I really want to focus on Robyn's confessional. Here's a clip from that.
I really wasn't really paying attention to Kody's schedule.
I think it was easy for her to not pay attention because she was getting the time she needed and wanted. Had she been getting less, I think she would have paid attention to what he was doing.
I don't know, I was okay if he wasn't there, and I was okay if he was there. It was great either way. I don't know.
I know some of you don't like Robyn, and some of you really, really don't like Robyn, but hear me out. Is it possible that in the beginning when Robyn entered into the family, she was okay with Kody not being there. Because she had just, she was a single mom, so she was used to being by herself. And then before that, she was in a marriage where she wasn't happy. So the idea of Kody not being there was kind of okay with her. But then as time went on and she started to feel lonely and she realized they were never all going to be in one house, she started to want him around more and then used Saul and Ari to keep him over at her house more than at the other wives' houses. Because there is a part of me that thinks maybe in the beginning there was some truth to her saying she didn't care if he was there or not. She goes on to say it seemed to be a thing with some of the other sister wives. And then they go over to a confessional with Meri, and Meri says, I'm a planner. And basically she just wants to know what is happening. Is Kody going to be there with her or not? And Meri, she's open about the fact that she's hard to live with. She's type A. She says she's a planner. If you think about it, polygamy was a terrible idea for Meri. Unless she was going to be with a man who had a super strict schedule, this was something Meri probably struggled with the whole time. After this, we get a confessional with Kody where he admits that he would fly by the seat of his pants, and he actually uses the word creative to describe how he organized his time with his wives. And I was like, yes, I agree. He was creative. He was creative at finding a way to unfairly divide his time. We've heard them say they didn't know where he was sometimes. So he was good at controlling the situation and doing it in a way where he made them feel like they were the problem if they asked about it. When Kody reflects on how he structured his time, he says he was too flexible. And that's really all he says, but I do have a theory. And this is just a theory, you guys. Had he went further with that conversation, he would have found a way to have twisted it. And I do believe he would have placed all that blame back on Christine and on Meri, depending on how he feels about Meri in the moment. But he would have said that Meri and Janelle were demanding. And so he always had to change things around to give in to their demands. And Robyn and Janelle were always sacrificing their time with him. That is just a theory, but I feel like we've heard him say similar things before. Like they were demanding, they wanted more time, so everyone else had to give in to them. I don't think Janelle wanted more time with Kody at all, so he can't actually place any blame on Janelle, or he probably would, but we know better. We know Janelle didn't demand things from him like that. He can't blame Robyn because that's his favorite wife. So I think given the opportunity, Kody would have went on to have placed some blame on other people. So back to Janelle and Christine on this road trip. They discuss spiritual divorces. I'm going to skip over that part. I want to talk about the property. Christine asked Janelle, what's happening with Coyote Pass? Janelle basically says, nothing. I wish I had the money from that, because she wants to spend that money on this new project and on this new property. But nothing is happening. And then they remind us that Janelle had sold her house in Vegas, and when they got that money, it was put into a home for Robyn. So this leads to confessionals from Christine, Robyn, Janelle, and Kody. I'm going to put in the clip from Janelle here first.
I really did catch on too late that all of a sudden there was a change in thought that resources weren't for the benefit of the whole family.
Meri gave an example of that this season when she said that she thought the money in the family fund was going to be used for college tuition and cars for the kids. But she didn't see that money being used for Leon, and she doesn't even know if it was used for any of the kids.
It seems to be a very big hot button for Kody and Robyn. And they're always trying to revise history about how things were paid or what was paid.
Listen, they don't try to just change the history when it comes to finances. They try to change the history of everything. That's just been a common theme the last few seasons of this show. Now let's hear what Robyn has to say about this.
This is a tough conversation for me because I'm just like, wait a minute, we worked together for so long and I helped so much with these earlier years. Like,
she said so little, but there was so much wrong with it. And I'm sure you were all very surprised to hear her say that, just like I was, because what is she talking about? The earlier years? They were married to Kody for years and years before Robyn even entered the picture. So the earlier years, She wasn't even there for the early years. So that's impossible. Now, I will say she said earlier, but she's implying that she was around to help in the beginning. Like, at least that's how I take it. And then what did she do? What did she do? She was a single mom who married into a family that was struggling financially, brought 3 more kids, had 2 more kids, and didn't go get a job. And brought all of her debt. What did she do? If anything, she should be out there working now to help repay them for how they helped her. This is one of those times where she should have said no comment, or she could have done that thing that she used to do all the time where she would act like she didn't know what was going on. When she would say, I don't remember it like that. I don't know why they can't work things out. I don't know why Meri doesn't stay with Kody. I don't know. This was one of those times it was in her best interest to act clueless. Because again, she said so little, but it was just enough to make any fans of this show angry. She should not have commented. But we aren't done yet, because Kody has something to say about this. He makes a point of saying that he wanted to help Janelle buy a house, but she didn't want to buy a house. It was her choice. She wanted to live in an RV. But then we hear from Janelle, and she says Kody wanted her to buy Christine's house. And Janelle just didn't want to buy that house. She didn't like it. So he wasn't really offering to go out and help her buy a home somewhere. She felt like he was offering to help her buy that specific house. So her perception and his perception of what happened is not the same. But I'm going to throw a clip in here of Kody talking about what he thinks is happening now.
Now that everybody's broken up, they want to say, I didn't get something or I gave something, but you didn't. We were just making sure everybody was taken care of.
Think back to when Kody used to talk about spiritual marriages and legal marriages. He would say there was no difference. They were all his wives. Well, if it was a legal marriage and they had gotten a divorce, he would have had to have divided assets. So that's what he needs to do here. He acts like them expecting some of what they put into their family finances being divided up is some awful thing or just unbelievable that they're doing it. No, it's like normal. Divide up the stuff. It's not all yours, Kody. They weren't paying tribute to Kody Brown. They were putting into a fund that was supposed to go to them if they stayed in the marriage. Well, now they're not staying in the marriage, so they want to take their part of it out. But the way he was talking about it, did you guys notice? He was like shrugging his shoulders and making like weird faces. Not his normal angry face. But I felt like he was trying to manipulate people, the viewers. Look at them now. She wanted the RV lifestyle. She's getting what she asked for. Shrug the shoulders. No, dude, you're the problem. Like, you're the problem, and we can see through this. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch that part. I don't think I can keep putting that many clips in from that part of the show without ending up with a copyright claim, but it just felt weird. It felt like he was up to something, like he was storytelling. But let's go ahead and move on. One last thing about Janelle, Christine, David, and Truly. They don't actually make it to North Carolina in this episode. They leave us with them still on the road, but before their part of the show is over, we do see them all. Not Truly. Let me take that back. Not all of them. Truly stays at the hotel. But David, Christine, and Janelle go to a bar, and Janelle takes her first shot. And that is it, you guys. That's where that part of the show ends. I have a little bit more to talk about with Kody, Robyn, and Aurora. So let's move on to that. Hold on. There's one more thing I want to add. Don't you guys just love that Janelle seems so comfortable around David, and he's comfortable with her, and they seem to all get along? I just thought that was so nice. This trip to the bar seems way more enjoyable than the family dinners and the family meetings they've had the last few seasons when they were all with Kody. Like, this seems like a way better time. Now let's move on to Kody, Robyn, and Aurora. The first time we see Kody in this episode is just about 5 minutes into the show. It's right after Janelle, David, Christine, and Truly pack up to head out on the road. Kody talks about the fact that he wasn't supposed to know that Janelle was moving.
It was never intended for me to know that Janelle was moving. One of my children, at their admission, slipped up and told me, and then said, please don't repeat that or pretend you never heard it.
All right, you guys, I want to know who you think told. Do you think it was McKelty? Do you think Savannah told accidentally? I don't think it was the boys in the family. So I'm just wondering who you think it was. You guys let me know down in the comments. That's not all Kody says. He goes on to talk a little bit about Christine moving on and Meri moving on, and then he brings up Janelle, and all I could think of is the denial that Robyn had about Meri leaving is the type of denial that Kody seems to have about Janelle leaving.
Janelle was a different story. I always thought, I just felt like Janelle and I could have worked it out.
Why would he think that? At this point, the kids are grown. He doesn't have relationships with most of them. Any of them? Does he have any kind of relationship with any of Janelle's kids at all? I mean, why would he think they're going to get back together? That's absolutely wild to me. If you guys can explain it, go ahead and do it down in the comments because I'd love to hear your theories. The only thing I can think of is that maybe he just thinks she's not going to go look for a romantic relationship, so she'll just come back with me to be a part of this family. Because otherwise nothing makes sense to me at all. Or maybe desperation, like I won't sell Coyote Pass and she'll eventually just come back around, but that's even a stretch, even for Kody. Okay, let's move on to talking about Kody and Robyn together. We get to see inside of Robyn's house. It looks like there are some spring decorations out, some Easter decor, so we're possibly looking at spring of 2024. I'm not going to speculate on if it's actually the week of Easter. Who knows? She might have put that stuff out a month early, but we're at least in that time frame. We get to see them together in the kitchen. Kody mentions that he is doing the dishes to try to turn Robyn on, which is something I just never ever want to hear from him again. But then he takes it a step further. You know what? I'll just put a clip in so you guys can hear it from him.
I'm notorious for coming out of a shower, putting a towel around my waist and flexing and going, hey, what do you think?
It doesn't surprise me that he does that. I just wish he didn't feel the need to tell us about it. It is worth noting that I was able to get a screenshot of Robyn smiling during this part of the show, and that can sometimes be very difficult to do. Now, I want to talk about why they were filming in the house, and that is because they were going to have a scene where Aurora talks to Kody and Robyn about being baptized. And when this first came on, I was expecting something different. I had seen some comments about it already, but I'm going to stick up for this whole group for a moment. I know it's easy to jump all over Kody and Robyn, and I really, really think these girls need to get their own apartment and move out of the house. But when it comes to this, I think the whole thing makes sense. Based on Kody and Robyn's experiences with the church they were involved with when they all first got together and then when they were polygamist, I think it's fair that Kody and Robyn ask questions. And I think those kids know about those experiences, know about what their faith was like before, and they go to Kody and Robyn because of that. So I think this makes sense. I even think the questions that they were asking were sensible. Like, are you committing to the church, or is this something about your faith? To me, that was a reasonable question. This was a conversation that sort of made sense to me until we got to this part.
With that, I would like to ask you, would you baptize me with my pastor?
This might have been a sweet moment for anyone else or any other family, but with Kody, it just bothers me. He has a way of making everything about himself. And I think this is a moment where he's going to have to practice some restraint and let this be about Aurora. And I don't know if he can do that. I also feel like it's a moment where she could be independent of them. It's okay to have this conversation about it with them, but go and do this on your own and let it be your own thing that's beyond your parents. But here she is asking Kody if he'll be involved. I wonder if these girls, when they were young and being brought into the family, if they felt like they needed to try to do everything to be the perfect daughters so that, they could fit in, and then they would be the favorite and their mom was the favorite and Kody would want to come over there. And it's just continued on into their young adult years. I really would love to see what would happen if they had independence and they were away from Kody and Robyn more. But that's all. I don't actually have an issue with her going to talk to them the way that some people seem to. But I wish that she was doing this and Kody and Robyn could observe and watch and be there for her, but not be involved. That's all. You guys can let me know what you thought about this episode down below. I will tell you, they've given us, at the end of this episode, we see what's to come. And it looks good, you guys. I'm really interested in hearing what Meri has to say about Robyn. It seems like she's starting to hear what the audience of the show is saying. Like, it doesn't add up. If Robyn wanted to be your friend, she could have picked up the phone and called you. She could have spent time with you. It seems like Meri's going to be questioning that in the second half of this season, and I am looking forward to it. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this episode down below. If you haven't already, click like and subscribe, and I hope you'll come back to Happily Ever Reality.